Can I have a motion to approve the agenda? Brian, and a second? Denise? I do have 2 changes. Under the district reports, the student presentation and the sabbatical presentation will be moved to our next meeting on the 17th. So you can cross those off. Does anyone else have any changes? Okay. All in favor to approve the agenda as amended? 6 in favor, student rep in favor. All right, an approval of the minutes for March 20th. Can I have a motion? Brian, and a second? Denise. Can I have any changes to be made? Yes, Gianna.
There was one thing I actually did notice on the agenda that I should have said earlier. For future meeting dates, it doesn't actually say the April 16th meeting. The next one says May 1st.
Okay.
That just needs to be noted.
17.
My apologies, yes, but the next April meeting isn't there.
Yeah.
Okay.
Noted. Thank you.
Freudian slip on my part.
Any other? Oh, Kelly.
The only other thing that I had with the minutes was just the date for the high school PSAT, SAT day. It was today, not April 13th.
Can you say like what page that was on? Do you know?
Sure. It was on, it was the second agenda item. Page 2. In the ORHS section, the first paragraph and the bulleted dates. It's just a date correction.
And then I just have a couple that I'll send off to Karen. One is page 3 of 6 for the 3rd paragraph, where I start to say something. It says, Gianna commended students, and the thing was on the, says candidates with a microphone and includes scripted questions. That should read unscripted or cold questions. And then on page 3 of 6, where it's the paragraph that starts transition grades 8 through 9, there's just a typo for the second mention of Sarah Gom. It just has an extra A, so it just needs to be a correction for spelling. Page 4 of 6, the first paragraph regarding the Brown Center field trip needs to be added. And let's see, on the page 4 of 6, in the second bullet, I shall leave that one alone. I think that one's fine. So those are it.
Thank you. No other changes? All in favor of approving the minutes as amended? 6 in favor, student rep in favor. All right, we'll move to the district announcements. Seeing none, we will move to board announcements. Oh, and I apologize. Is there anyone here for public comment? Okay, Denise.
I wanted to thank Ms. Anderson for her invitation to join the sociology class for a roundtable discussion. Found it very interesting, lots of good questions on the part of students and some really interesting discussion around topics that are particularly relevant for the high school students, or in the district as a whole, but I really enjoyed it and appreciate the invitation.
I'll simply second that. I enjoyed that as well. That was a very beneficial thing. It was great to interact with the students and hear what they had to say. And it was a great give and take where there were some things that they were asking us, and then there's always my favorite part is listening to what they had to say. So I thought it was very valuable, and I, again, appreciate the invitation.
So I will pile on. Going to Miss Anderson's class in the spring is one of my favorites. And I'm surprised, Denise, I thought I wouldn't actually have to say anything about the musical because you always cover it. So Little Women was the 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of March. It was absolutely spectacular. it may be the favorite of all the musicals I have seen in the district. It was amazing. I saw it 3 times. I cried 3 times. It was fantastic. And I want to commend everyone who was part of the performance and the directors and Mr. Taylor for doing all the sound and lighting, which was really exciting on Saturday night when the power went out and stuff went offline and his entire soundboard went dead, and he sprinted up to see if he could get stuff back online, and the performers just kept going. It was exciting and live theater and really great, and so great job for everyone. The other thing I wanted to mention about it is this is the first performance I think I've seen where they had a full live pit. Usually we have a live accompanist, and he is fantastic. But this was the first time we've had a full live pit that was comprised of teachers and students. And it was really great to hear Sarah and Jake and Andrea play their instruments, and how amazing of musicians. I mean, we know they're amazing educators, but how amazing of musicians they are. And then add to that the students who played as well. And it was a beautiful full sound that just gave so much oomph to the performers on stage. So I hope to see more of that in the future. It was amazing. And so yes, it was phenomenal, and everybody should put in their books. We have 2 more musicals coming up. The Moheramet musical, since the administrators aren't here, I'll do it. The Moheramet musical, Finding Nemo Jr., is Friday at 6:30, and then the Mastway musical, Wonka Jr., is Thursday the 11th, right after the community dinner. And free admission, come see it. The kiddos are almost always great, and we're really excited to see both.
Friday the 5th?
No, in 2 days. Yes, Friday the 5th.
Yeah, okay. I would like to thank Karen, who is very smart and pointed out my mistake from last week in not thanking you, Denise, for your work as the school board chair. You took us through a really important superintendent search, which is going to be key for the district for the, the next 3 years minimum. And just, it was a lot of hard work, and we really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Is there any other board comments? Okay, we'll move to the assistant superintendent report. Seeing none, we will move to the superintendent report.
Thanks, Matt. I just want to bring up a process that we're going through right now in relation to restaffing at the middle school. Bill Sullivan and Alita have been working on plans to reshuffle staffing because of the declining enrollment. You might recall that we had this conversation extensively during budget development season. As you might expect, when you do reshuffling, it causes some angst on the part of staff. So at the 17th, I'll have Bill lay out the work that he's done to address the reducing enrollment and the staffing adjustments he's made. And really, that's just wanted to cue that up for the 17th. That's it, Matt.
Okay.
Oh, thanks, Heather. Yes, the survey that was done of students, staff, and parents on the competency-based reporting is now on the website. So anybody who would like to go to it, it's there under curriculum, Suzanne? So, yeah, it has its own section under. Yeah, so it's there.
Okay, thank you. Business administrator is no report. And Maeve, student rep.
Perfect. I had a really nice day off today, but everybody else was taking either the PSAT or the SAT today. Robotics, tomorrow they head to Springfield, Mass, because they qualified, I know we talked about robotics a few weeks ago, they qualified at UNH. They're 46th out of 214 teams in New England, so it's pretty incredible. Coffee House, because we're not having school tomorrow, has been moved to next Wednesday, 6 to 8 in the library, which is a big change, rather than the NPR. And Senate Mental Health Week it's going to be the first week in May, but it's when we come back from break, so Monday the 29th till Friday the 3rd, because May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And I think that's all I have.
Can you say those dates one more time?
Yeah, which ones?
The Mental Health Week,
Mental health, yeah, 29th to the 3rd. And
29th through
the 3rd,
the 3rd. Okay.
yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much. Finance Committee? No report. All right, we'll move to the unanimous consent agenda. And we have 3 items: the nominate and approve non-continuing contract professional staff members, a revision to the maternity leave of absence, and an acceptance of 4 teacher resignations. Does anyone have any one of those items they'd like to pull out? Okay, I'd like to make a motion to approve the unanimous consent agenda. Brian? And a second? Denise?
I thought you made the motion, Matt, and Brian was seconding.
I sure did. That's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Thank you. I made the motion and Brian made the second. All right, all in favor? 6 in favor, student rep in favor. Thank you for that catch. All right, the first discussion item will be the at-large vacancy. We received 3 resumes. Give me a moment for their names. The first one is for, I'm going to hope that this is Kwayon Yu. And the second is for Renee Beauregard Bennett. I apologize, I should have had these written out. And the last is Jessica Rodriguez Boudreau. And I'm opening the discussion for these 3 candidates. Denise, go ahead.
It's unfortunate. I had expected that they would be here tonight, and even if we didn't formally interview them or question, that they would have a chance to introduce themselves during public comments. And I know with weather and just kind of miscommunication, but I just feel it's difficult to vote when one of them I'm familiar with because she ran, and participated in the candidate forum, but the other 2 I do not know at all. And so I don't know. I know that we're trying to seat someone as quickly as possible, but I just have a hard time voting when there's 2 that I have never met. So, and they haven't had a chance to introduce themselves, so it's just.
Yeah, go ahead, Brian.
I just don't think we can wait any longer. We have committees that need to be seated. We have work to be done. We can't be holding it up any longer. I will say, looking at resumes and their letters, I really liked Renee Beauregard Bennett for 3 reasons, actually. First one was she did very good at the candidates forum. She got the most amount of votes of the non-winning candidates. Her background in academia is outstanding. She'd be perfect for what we're looking for here. I think she would complement the board nicely and bring a lot to the discussion. And third, my gripe that I've had for the last 10 plus years is Lee representation. We haven't had more than one person from Lee. And I don't know, Jim, at least 12 years since you've been here, right?
I think there was one point where we had,
Well, for a year, we had 2.
yeah, 2, but historically, we've had 1.
And we just have not had the representation. And I think she kind of hits all the parts and pieces that we had. I've had a discussion with her at the candidates forum. Granted, it was quick, but her answers that she had, and I will readily admit that her answers were truly off the cuff because she didn't have the questions, and the fact that how she answered them was actually really, really good. So if, I would feel very comfortable with her. Not that the other 2 weren't qualified, I just feel for what we do and what we need at this point, I think she really fits the bill. So that would be my supportive statement for her, so, and for the process.
I understand the urgency that Brian is feeling, and I understand that, and also kind of agreeing with Denise that I must have had it wrong too, or I thought they were going to be here to be able to ask questions. Because again, it's the same thing where there are some things I would actually like to be able to ask the candidates because I'm only familiar with one, though I do know a little bit about Jessica Rodriguez-Boudreau. In this case, I think on paper, I think two of the candidates are particularly strong. It's Ms. Bisbro and Ms. Beauregard, and I think they're both good. But I think it also and I think they're actually both a good fit. At the current moment, I'm actually leaning towards Ms. Boudreau simply because her experience in the policy realm, particularly with organizations in which I'm very familiar, including Reach Your Higher in New Hampshire and the Nellie Mae Education Foundation, are things that I've been watching for years, and I think her voice would be incredibly beneficial, considering the school board is policy. That is what we do, is policy, and I think it'd be interesting to have her voice there. So I'd really love to be able to ask the questions. That's kind of really where I'm at right now.
Go ahead, Brian.
I brought up last time that we should have a question and answer phase, and everyone had agreed that it would just be their 3 minutes of public comment. So there was never a plan to have question and answer with them at any point during this process, so.
Just to back up what Brian said, that's what I was trying to get across to everybody, is that the last time it was a discussion amongst the board based on the resumes and the letters, and that's what we would do this time. I'm totally open to a policy change. I think that can be good, but just being consistent with what happened in the last replacement, I think is important. Go ahead, Denise.
So that, Dr. Moore specifically said we were to send questions to him, and I sent question to him. So that was raised. It's true we were sort of on the fence because we were thinking, well, we don't know how many people will actually apply. So I hear what you're saying, Brian. There wasn't anything definitive in terms of whether we would interview or not interview. However, it was my understanding that they would at least be here to introduce themselves. That was my understanding. And then we were going to make a decision in terms of depending on who applied, how many applied, whether we were going to continue with the interview. We absolutely interviewed the finalists the last time, and I would not have voted for anyone that I had not at least heard from. So, and I mean, I hear, obviously we want someone seated as soon as possible. It's unfortunate there was obviously some misunderstanding in terms of what process we were using, but that's just where I am right now.
If we decide not to vote tonight, then I need somebody seated on the Finance Committee because we're in the middle of a big thing right now that is being held up. And I can't hold it up any longer because it's going to get into the next fiscal year. We have to get this all squared away. Then this person, I can guarantee, will not be on the Finance, whoever it happens to be, will not be on the Finance Committee. But I need somebody on the Finance Committee because we have to meet very soon. So if you decide not to do anything, at very least, give me somebody on the Finance Committee to work with, or let us go forward with 2. It's your choice.
Okay. First of all, then, I'd like to apologize because what I thought was me being perfectly clear was clearly not clear. And so next time I'll make sure that I'm clear when I am trying to say what we should be doing. Second of all, it's up to the 6 of us to vote if we want to postpone this vote. But I believe that we can get somebody on and get the Finance Committee seated very quickly, within the next few days, if everyone's comfortable with that 7th member not being on the Finance Committee.
So, you know me, I like process. We have a couple of pathways forward. So let's just do in my brain, how the committee thing shakes out. So there is a calculus to that, figuring out where people want to be and what they want globally. So it wouldn't just be tell me if you want to be on finance, it'd be tell me what you want, and then there's some, Denise and Matt did this last year, there's some calculus to sort of slotting people in their preferences. So it would affect more than finance. It's not necessarily the worst thing ever because we can sort of hold the rest of them, but it is a large picture conversation. So we would need to have everybody's committees very soon. And just maybe seat the finance committee, but there is a play there, and likely the 7th member won't get preference for her first choices because of the way it slots out. Not necessarily a bad thing, just the way it would be. So that's that side. The other side is sort of splitting the baby, as it were. I don't know if folks are available on the 10th. I know Wendy has collected that information, but we could.
Just to interrupt you, I'm not in favor of holding an extra meeting. There's especially with the finance committee going to have to meet, that's a lot of extra time. So that would be moving it to the 17th. I'm sorry, just go ahead.
So, okay, so the 17th, which is going to be a lot of business, it seems like, because we're pushing a lot of stuff off as well. And then, yes, I do. But then we should talk about what we want that process to look like, because I am in favor of us maybe whittling down to 2 and asking them to come and put one person in the cone of silence and ask questions for maybe 20 minutes, and then switch the cone of silence and then have a discussion about it. Because it is hard to do it on paper, and having somebody just get up and talk for 3 minutes is a really hard way of making that decision. And I agree with Denise on that one. And so that would be my thing, that we should put it on the agenda. It's beyond introducing themselves as public comment, where we would get maybe not like 45 minutes, but maybe like 20 minutes to just try to pare it down to sort of get a feel and then make a decision.
My question simply is it possible, under the rules, to have an interim finance committee person? Like, could we interim appoint somebody to be able to take care of the agenda that's concerning Brian, and possibly able to change that if necessary later, so we're not messing up everything? Because, I mean, a lot of the people, Denise in particular, as has been on the board for years, would it be okay if she could be interim?
There's just too much to be brought up to speed on. We got a big thing we've been working on for a while that we can move forward with 2 people. It's just, we'd like to have that third, but that third's got to be a permanent member, because there's just so much stuff that we're dealing with. Some of it is pretty sensitive, I guess you could say. So
It is a good point.
as soon as possible. We should have had this done weeks ago.
It is a good point that the person we'd be picking is serving a 1-year term. So it would make more sense to have somebody on with more term left on their seat on that finance committee to help with longer range planning. Which means we could seat the finance committee without the 7th person, without too much of a problem.
Okay, I understand what you're saying now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. As far as process goes, I think it's important, in the lack of a clear policy, to be as consistent as we can. And last time, there was an interview between 2 of the candidates because there was a deadlock, because it was 3-3 on the 2 candidates. And the compromise, and Brian can back me up and Heather can back me up, I believe, the compromise was to meet with the 2 candidates and see who the board liked better after that further introduction. And that was held as a separate meeting. If we come to that between 2 of the 3 candidates this time, I think that that's an appropriate step forward. But I think that what we should do now is invite them to come to the 17th meeting and introduce themselves during the public comment, and then have our discussion, giving them a chance to work around the weather, because obviously that's a key factor tonight, is having somebody come in this kind of weather. So if the board's in favor of that, then I think that would be fine. And
Yeah, I don't love that, because it pushes us out to May if we deadlock. And I think there's a good chance we could, because I like They're all great, and there are two that I'm really interested in, and I don't know right off the top of my head which one I want more, and having them come up and talk to me for 3 minutes isn't going to fix that. So just because that was the process doesn't mean it was the right process, and that we should talk more about.
I'm comfortable, because I do have two that are sort of my two top choices based on what I see in the resumes. So I have no issue necessarily with whittling it down to two people, and that we could invite, as Heather said, to come either to an extra, if we do an extra meeting next Wednesday, I can certainly do that, or we wait till the 17th, which definitely is an issue. But, you know, however we decide to do it, I would be comfortable if other people are, you know, moving forward, saying which two we would consider our finalists to invite to a, and I don't even know that it necessarily needs to be 20 minutes, but, you know, just to give us an opportunity, perhaps each ask one question of the individual or what have you, and either do it next Wednesday or the 17th.
Would that be appropriate to do in a regular meeting?
Yeah, I was just going to second what Denise and Heather are saying. I think building it into the agenda is very possible if you're two people and you give yourself a limit of 15, 20 minutes.
And so it's appropriate to ask somebody to leave during a question and answer period?
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone else have a comment in that regard? Yes, go ahead.
So I like Denise's idea of doing that as its own sort of separate, having, you know, whittling it down to two individuals and then having them come in as a separate time rather than trying to put everything into the 17th. So I would be in favor of, I know it's an extra meeting and it's, you know, additional time for everybody, but I would prefer to do it earlier rather than waiting.
Does anyone at the table have a problem with an extra meeting?
I go to 2 board meetings every time we have one, so if I can avoid a week without a board meeting, I'd love to have it, although it sounds like I'm probably outnumbered. But I'm still recovering from last night's meeting, so.
Yes, go ahead, Denise.
If we did have a meeting on the 10th, I can't imagine that it would go at even an hour. I mean, if we do 15 minutes for each and have some discussion afterwards, you know, I would imagine. So and that would be the only item on the agenda. I mean, maybe I'm too hopeful. Maybe we'll go on for 2 hours in discussion, but, you know, that would be the only item on the agenda.
Is there enough time to post and make that a regular meeting?
Yeah, we have to post by Friday, so we're good.
Okay.
Alexander or Caleb, can you guys come next Wednesday?
I guess the other issue would be that we'd have to make sure that our 2 finalists could make it on the 10th. So we'd have to, I guess, check once we decide who we want.
So how do we decide who the 2 are?
Just through discussion, and would we need a motion for that? I don't know if we need a motion.
No, I think what you do is you go around and find everybody's
Microphone.
first choice.
Microphone.
I'm sorry. Yeah, just go around the room and ask everybody's first choice, and then you go around the second choice and see if there's consensus.
Okay. Anyone like to begin?
So my first choice would be Renee Beauregard Bennett.
I don't have a first, I just have to throw out the 2. I would go with Renee and with Jessica as the 2 that have really the most experience, I think. So I'm just going to put those down as my 2 tied choices at this point.
Denise and I are in lockstep today. It's nice. Renee and Jessica.
Renee and Jessica.
I agree, same.
Okay.
There you go.
And I would agree also. Okay, so then we will Not, we will have another meeting on Tuesday. Can we do that meeting at 6 PM? Is that convenient for everyone? Wednesday, I apologize, Wednesday. Can we do that at 7 PM, 6 PM or 7 PM? And whatever's convenient for the rest of
Six
the
is
board.
cutting it close for me. I have an hour and a half drive.
Okay, 7 is fine.
I mean, it could be 6:30. I'd be fine with 6:30.
No, I mean, 7 is fine for me. It's our normal time anyway. I don't know if
No, I mean,
earlier.
6:30 would force me out at a certain time and would get me.
Is everybody
here,
okay with
not too late.
6:30? Okay, and we'll check with the two candidates. I would like to say, and I'm going to say the name again. Bear with me, I apologize. Oh, my God. What's the last name, Yu?
Dr. Yu.
Yeah, Dr. Yu, Kyuhyun Yu. Thank you very much for your application. We really appreciate it. It's part of what makes this community really nice to be in, is that there's a lot of people like you that are actively involved and want to be involved. So thank you very much. Okay, so we will we will set up that meeting and post it. And thank you all for your discussion. I appreciate it. And again, I apologize for not making it clear last time, and that won't happen again. Yes, go ahead, Brian.
In the meantime, can we request someone for the
Yes.
Finance Committee?
We'll
Can we have that discussion, or we have the discussion?
we'll get together and get that situated.
Wendy has all of your choices at this point, and Matt and Heather will go through them.
All right, the meeting, sorry. So on Wednesday, June 19th, we have a regularly scheduled board meeting. That is Juneteenth. And so we would like to move that meeting to Thursday, June 20th at 7 PM. Is there anyone that has a conflict with that date? Denise, go ahead.
No, that's after graduation, because I was like, is this conflicting with graduation? But graduation is earlier. It's what, the 10th or somewhere?
It's also a Friday, if I remember correctly.
Right.
Graduation.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Never mind. June is too hard to think about June.
I'm hearing that it's the 7th of June.
No, almost set.
Yes, okay. So can I have a motion to change the date of that meeting from the 19th to the 20th?
So moved.
And a second? Denise, moved by Heather and seconded by Denise. All in favor? 6 in favor, and the student rep in favor.
Maybe won't even be here. She'll smoke a bomb down at that point.
Oh, I see. All right. Good, good, good. That's efficient board member. You leave it for the next person. I like it. Okay, as Gianna mentioned, I'm sorry, are there any more public comments for this evening? Seeing none? Are there any committee updates? My goodness, I need my glasses. Yes, go ahead.
Sustainability was unable to meet on Monday, but the community dinner is happening. We have all sorts of really great groups coming. It's at the high school on April 11th, which is a Thursday, from 5 to 6:30. Did I get that time right, Suzanne? Yep, 5 to 6:30. There is a sign up, so if you can pre-sign up, that way we can make sure we have enough food, which we'll have anyway, so you can always come if you haven't signed up, but if you could sign up, that'd be great. It should be really great, and I think Dr. Shaps may be making an appearance as well at the dinner, so you can all say hi to him. But there's great student groups coming, there are great town groups coming, there are some UNH groups coming. It's going to be a lot of tables around the cafeteria and students presenting their work on sustainability. It's going to be super, super cool. So put it on your calendars for April 11th.
And that's here at the middle school? At the high school. I'm glad I asked. Denise.
Policy committee is not meeting as scheduled. Was that tomorrow or next week? Yeah, because of the fact that we don't have our full committee, or whoever's going to be on the committee. So the next meeting will be in May.
Go ahead, Gianna.
The DEIJ committee met, and I want to remind folks that we have an official event coming up for Thursday, May 2nd. That's 6 to 8 p.m. in the middle school's concert hall and also out into the common area. Ms. Blancett did an excellent flyer that should be posted quite soon for everybody to see. It says, "One community, many voices, embracing belonging." We'll have inspiring speakers, small group discussion, some visual art, which will be very cool. They'll be included from lots of students of different ages across the district, and some light refreshments. So would everybody's want to advertise it here for everybody to come. And it says, "Join us for this special spring event to share stories, experiences, and celebrate our differences." So far, 2 speakers have been procured. The third one is in the 3. Oh, we got the third. Okay, I didn't see that. So we got the 3 speakers, which is great. I love odd numbers for panels. I'm quite excited about this one. It's been a little challenging getting it going, but I think the theme of belonging, for how to belong to a community and feel accepted for who you are, is a great thing to be working with this year. So we're quite excited about that. So May 2nd, 6 to 8.
Okay, thank you much. Anyone else? All right.
Hey, Matt, actually, I forgot something else about the DEIJ.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm sorry, I realized there was something else, Denise Compellin in this one too. Half of that meeting was actually talking about the planning for this, but the other half was actually a workshop where we dealt with discussing classism and the idea of class within the community. And it was a wonderful discussion. It was part 1 of 2, hopefully we'll get to 2. And it was really enlightening, not only because of how pervasive the idea of class is in society, even though we don't really acknowledge it, but I thought it was a valuable thing simply because it's a community group, so you're getting the perspectives of, school board members, because Denise was there too, and also teachers and admin, and of course, my favorite again was students. And we had some new students there, and I had one of the students with a group of 3. And it's always very enlightening to talk to students and help kind of educate them in this, because class isn't necessarily something they're hearing a lot about, but how much they actually realize they are affected by it when you start having the discussion and what they have to say. So I thought it was very valuable, and I hope that there'll be a way of working the discussion that was used there maybe into some of the SCL or advisor groups or Bobcat, because I thought it was a workable model that could be used for multiple ages if you just change the questions a little bit, or actually, I don't think you did have to change the questions very much, actually. But I thought it was very valuable, and it's part of the good work the committee's doing.
Any other committee updates? Okay. As Gianna mentioned, there on the closing actions, the April 17th regular meeting is a meeting that we are having, so that has been left off. So please add that to your calendars if it's not there. And we'll be having a regular meeting on April 10th also at 6:30 p.m.
Yeah.
Yes.
Just in terms of clarification, the 10th can be a workshop. It doesn't have to be a regular agenda.
Okay.
Well, if we make a decision.
We have to vote on the person.
You're
Yeah.
right, Denise. I'm sorry.
Okay.
You're absolutely right.
That's all right.
Can't be a workshop.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it.
I have a standing commitment to the Durham Town Planning Board on workplace housing on the 10th. So Suzanne will have to sit in my seat during that meeting. I would rearrange it, but they've been trying to get me there for weeks and weeks, so.
Okay, I appreciate it. We do need to have a non-public session, and so I would like to make a motion to go into a non-public session under RSA 91-A:3 to Section C for Section C. We need a roll call, second for that. Brian, a second, and a roll call vote, please.
John Jelsey, yes?
Brian Cisneros, yes?
Matt Bacon, yes.
Heather Smith, yes?
Denise Day, yes.
Kelly Ickes, yes.
Thank you very much.